Hello everyone. Welcome to a conversation with Bangladesh. The U.S Embassy Dhaka এবং দেশ টিভির এই বিশেষ আয়োজনে আপনারা জানেন বরাবরের মতো আমাদের সাথে আছেন একজন বিশেষ অতিথি। কিন্তু অতিথির সাথে পরিচিত হবার আগে জেনে নেই আজকের আড্ডার টপিক। আমাদের আজকের আড্ডার টপিক পলিসি প্রায়োরিটিজ ইন বাংলাদেশ অ্যান্ড দি রিজিয়ন। আর আমাদের সাথে আজকে আড্ডায় অংশ নিচ্ছেন ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক বিভাগের বেশ কজন ছাত্রছাত্রী। Welcome to a conversation with Bangladesh and thanks for participating. And it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome our today's guest, Assistant Secretary for South and Central Asian Affairs, Ms. Nisha Biswal. Welcome to a conversation with Bangladesh.
Well, thank you very much, Sabir. Thank you for having me on this program, and it's such a pleasure to be here in Dhaka with all of you.
This is your first visit to Bangladesh as the Assistant Secretary. What brings you to Bangladesh?
Indeed, I was just confirmed into this new job as Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asia 3 weeks ago. And the very first trip that I'm taking in my new capacity is here to Bangladesh. It's an important time for the United States and Bangladesh in our relationship, in our partnership. It's an important time for Bangladesh, and I thought that this would be a good opportunity to really convey where the priority of the United States is in trying to move forward in this very important relationship.
We have heard a lot about the Indo-Pacific corridor, and Mr. Ambassador Dan Mozina has mentioned that Bangladesh is the center of this regional connectivity, and we hear a great deal about the regional economic integration. How's that progressing?
It's a great question, Sabir. Thank you very much. You know, President Obama 2 years ago, when he addressed the Australian Parliament, he talked about America's rebalance to the Asia-Pacific. And fundamentally, what that rebalance is about is the fact that by many projections, the economies of Asia over the next several decades will comprise 50% of global GDP. 50% of global GDP. That means that Asian markets and Asian economies will drive, they will be the engine for global growth. That is the future of Asia. But for that future to become a reality, the challenges of governance, of corruption, the challenges of inclusive and sustainable growth, these are the challenges that are going to need to be met. And that's where the United States and Bangladesh can partner together to really address those challenges and prepare Bangladesh for its future in this economic landscape. Now, with the transition that we have seen in Myanmar, there's an opportunity to really connect the South Asian economies with the Southeast Asian economies. And Bangladesh is uniquely positioned at that juncture of South Asia and Southeast Asia. And that's really what the connectivity, the Indo-Pacific Economic Corridor is about, is an integrated trade and economic landscape that brings together these vast societies and economies. And that is something that the United States fully wants to support and advance in its partnership with Bangladesh.
Thank you very much. Now I will open up the conversation for your comments and questions.
Thanks for giving me the chance. Thanks, Mr. Secretary, for giving me the chance to say something. Well, my question is about regional integrity. As you mentioned, Bangladesh is uniquely positioned to play a vibrant role in this regional connectivity. But the fact is that we got to also realize that the political scenario of this region have witnessed a change with more assertive role of China, vibrant role of India, and also active role from East Asian countries. So there is definite possibility of a creation of a tension between those countries. So do you think that USA can play a vibrant but rational role to mitigate this tension in this region?
You know, I don't think it needs to be a relationship of tensions. You know, obviously there are competitions, but there's also a win-win here, because as you see prosperity expanding across this landscape, the United States sees an opportunity for an open trade architecture that really connects these economies together, so that Bangladesh is connected to Southeast Asia, is connected to China, is connected across the Pacific to the United States and the countries of North and South America. That's really what the rebalance is all about, is the acknowledgement that we are in a vast and potentially integrated economic architecture. And so I don't see this as a competition where tensions need to be managed, as much as I see this as an opportunity for much more collaboration amongst all of the countries of the region. And I think the United States is inherently a Asia-Pacific nation with long-term and enduring interests in the region.
As you know, Sri Lanka, they also have a very advantage because of their geographical location. And recently they have collaborated with China strongly, and they have conducting various development projects. For example, $1 billion Hamantata project that is collaborated with China with 85% of Chinese fund. So do you think that Bangladesh, because of its unique geographical location, have the possibility to create something like this with the collaboration of USA?
Well, certainly United States is Bangladesh's largest trading partner. It's also the largest investor in Bangladesh. And we see the opportunity for that relationship to grow and expand greatly. I think that there's vast opportunity for investment in infrastructure, and there's vast opportunity for investment in the workforce. And as Bangladesh invests in the capacity of its workforce, I see the opportunity for a much more expanded trade relationship.
More questions, comments?
Thank you, ma'am, for being here. And I would like to ask a question on the strategic partnership dialogue between Bangladesh and USA. And first of all, I would like to say that it is really a big gain for Bangladesh-US relation and for overall South Asia, I think. And my question is, if Bangladesh wants to make this relationship more warmer, then what are the opportunities or incentives that we can expect from US? And also another thing that we know that sometimes Bangladesh is constrained by the regional politics in case of making her foreign policy decisions. So in that case, in case of absolute realization of this strategic partnership dialogue, what type of obstacles we might face considering the geopolitical relationship of Bangladesh with China, India, and other countries?
Well, first of all, let me just say you guys asked some very good questions. No, and you know, the partnership between the United States and Bangladesh, the bilateral strategic dialogue that we have, is a broad and comprehensive partnership. And it's really a reflection of the fact that Bangladesh is a strategic partner of the United States. And we have cooperation across a vast array of areas. For example, we have a very strong defense cooperation. We have a very strong cooperation on counterterrorism. We are working across a vast array of development objectives. In fact, I don't know if many people know this, but Bangladesh is the largest U.S. assistance partnership relationship in Asia outside of Afghanistan and Pakistan, the largest across the Asia-Pacific region. Bangladesh is also the only country in which we have all 4 of President Obama's signature initiatives. And that, again, is not by accident. That is a reflection of how important Bangladesh is in the United States relationship and partnership. Now, as we look at the region, I think the scope for that partnership is simply going to grow. If you want to look at what are the challenges along the way, I think the challenges are that we want to and need to see a political transition in this country that reflects the democratic values and principles of this country and the democratic aspirations of the Bangladeshi people. And that is a political transition that is free, fair, and credible. And the United States has worked very closely to espouse those values and to support those values in Bangladesh. We see the opportunity for growth in the relationship as we move forward. And I don't think that there is any kind of a regional perspective in terms of zero-sum balance. I think that this is a win-win for Bangladesh and a win-win for the region to see enhanced and increased relations between the United States and Bangladesh.
A conversation with Bangladesh, বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা অনুষ্ঠানে নিব ছোট্ট একটা বিরতি, আমাদের সাথেই থাকুন। দেখছেন A Conversation with বাংলাদেশ, বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা অনুষ্ঠান, আর আমরা আড্ডা দিচ্ছি অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট সেক্রেটারি নিশা বিসওয়ালের সাথে।
Thank you, madam, for nicely replying to our questions. You have very importantly asked about, informed us about the defense cooperation. We know just last few weeks ago there was cooperation between the air forces, joint exercise between the air forces of two countries, and a very good naval cooperation is going on between Bangladesh and USA. So, realizing the rising importance of the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean region, how do you see the Bangladesh-US naval cooperation or defense cooperation may contribute to the further development of regional integration and cooperation in the region?
Well, I think that across the entirety of the Asia-Pacific landscape, the freedom of navigation is going to be increasingly an important principle, and advancing maritime security with all of the countries of the region is going to be an increasing area of focus and priority. And so the extent to which we can advance U.S. Bangladeshi cooperation on strengthening maritime security, I think that is again a prospect that will benefit the entire region.
Thank you very much. We will take more questions on this issue, but let's focus on the youth of Bangladesh. And Bangladesh has a very vibrant and active young civil society.
Yes.
And the Edward M. Kennedy Center, located in Dhanmondi, the Edward M. Kennedy Center for Public Service and the Arts, led many young civil society initiatives.
The mission of the Edward M. Kennedy Center for Public Service and the Arts is to engage, inspire, connect, and empower Bangladeshis of all ages to better themselves, their communities, and our world. Founded in 2012, the EMK Center is named in honor of the late Senator Kennedy and his on-the-ground support for the creation of Bangladesh during his 1972 visit. The EMK Center is an innovative public-private partnership between U.S. Embassy Dhaka and the Liberation War Museum. At the core of the EMK Center is a belief in the value of service. From leadership development workshops to workers' rights campaigns, service is at the heart of the EMK Center. Since opening, thousands of people have participated in the EMK Center's daily programming in Dhaka and across Bangladesh.
Can you kindly explain again the way you started your own company?
The Edward M. Kennedy Center, this is a beautiful facility right in the middle of the university district,
Where like-minded people can come and share their views and think about how to make a difference.
To make Bangladesh a wonderful, wonderful, vibrant place all across the nation.
Help the EMK Center build a better world. Donate or become a member today.
You have just been there, so
Yes.
How was it?
You know, I have to say this was probably the most inspiring moment of my visit, was the opportunity to meet with the young entrepreneurs of Bangladesh, because the vision that they have of addressing the social needs through means of innovation and entrepreneurship, that's really the vision of the future. And as our excellent ambassador Dan Mazzina likes to say, it's not just about the future, it's about today. It's the future is now, and you are all building that Bangladesh that is going to carry forward and bring greater prosperity into realization. So I was so moved and inspired by some of the very creative ideas that Bangladeshi entrepreneurs were coming up with. And it was also interesting to hear from them some of the challenges that they're encountering, and how do we mentor young entrepreneurs? How do you create the ecosystem that allows entrepreneurship to flourish? And the beauty we have today is that it's not just an issue of how do you create that ecosystem in Bangladesh. It's how Bangladeshi entrepreneurs connect into a global ecosystem that is supporting innovation and entrepreneurship. And that's where I think the future lies, is how do we connect the innovation that's happening here across Bangladesh to what's happening around the world.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary. As you've mentioned that the Bangladesh entrepreneurs, they can connect to the global ecosystem, and there's this group, the Bangladeshi American diaspora, they can also play a very important role, and I would like to mention this Lift Bangladesh, an initiative online portal supported by the Department of State which encourages global donors, especially Bangladeshi Americans, to donate vetted NGOs and give back to the community. So according to you, what role can the Bangladeshi Americans play in Bangladesh's development?
Well, thank you, Sabir. You know, we have a very vibrant Bangladeshi American community in the United States, and that community is also emotionally very tied to Bangladesh. They want to be able to invest in and support activities in Bangladesh. And so what Lift Bangla does is it creates a web portal that connects Bangladeshi Americans who want to contribute to worthy endeavors in Bangladesh with organizations here, organizations and entrepreneurs who are doing incredibly exciting work. And so we had the opportunity to launch that portal a couple of weeks ago in Washington, and I did my first ever Google Hangout with Ambassador Dan Mazina to really launch the web portal. And we think money is already coming in from the diaspora community, and we think that this is going to simply grow, and it's a great new undertaking that is reflective again of this partnership that we have.
Comments, questions?
Well, I have a question. As we all know that Bangladesh has already reached many of the MDG goals, and Bangladesh is on the way of reaching many of them. So how can we incorporate that money that is coming in, or how can USA help Bangladesh to reach the next development goals?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question. And you know, one of the amazing stories that doesn't get enough recognition is the development story of Bangladesh, because you know, what we have found is Bangladesh is well on its way to meeting its Millennium Development Goals. When you look at the health indicators and you see the improvements that have been made in maternal and child mortality rates, the reductions that have been made in the fertility rate, the improvements that we have seen in education and literacy rates, Bangladesh is a huge success story. And you know, one of the things that that we look at as we look at some of these improvements is how do you sustain the gains? How do you ensure that the improvements that have been made continue? And one of the things that Lift Bangla does is connect folks in the United States with the organizations who are working here on the ground, local organizations, civil society organizations, NGOs, and entrepreneurs, because it doesn't just have to be a nonprofit model. There are many social businesses that are looking for commercially viable ways of expanding services to populations in need. And so one of the ways that we can do that is help build the capacity and the sustainability of Bangladeshi organizations to continue forward the work that's being done in health and education, in economic empowerment, and you know, obviously the iconic transformational innovation that came into the development world is microfinance. And guess where that came from? Right here in Bangladesh. So there's a rich, rich history and tradition to draw from.
সময় হলো আরও একটা বিরতির, আমাদের সাথেই থাকুন, ফিরবো কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই। স্বাগত আরেকবার কনভারসেশন উইথ বাংলাদেশ, বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা অনুষ্ঠানে।
How can we lift our labor-oriented economy to technology-oriented or service-oriented economy? As we can't be like that forever. We have to move on to become the developed country. And in this case, how USA can help us?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. And you know, there's been a lot of focus over the last several months on Bangladesh's labor economy. And obviously, the tragedy that happened with the collapse of the Rana Plaza factory, it kind of shocked the consciences of the world into looking at what are the labor conditions here and what can be done to improve them. How can we invest in the Bangladeshi workforce? So the first thing I would say to you is that the current economy, which, you know, the ready-made garment industry, which comprises, I think, 20% of the Bangladeshi economy, that is an important area of investment first and foremost. And what we've been doing is working together, the international community and the Bangladeshi community. We've been working industry and labor, government and civil society to really address the working conditions and the labor environment writ large. But second of all, there is an opportunity for expanding investment and growing the economy in new and different ways. And the first thing that, you know, if you want to grow the technology economy is investment in education. And I think that as more and more Bangladeshis come out of university and look for opportunities to engage in innovation and entrepreneurship, it's bringing in more and more investment into that arena. And I think that this is going to be a growing area of interest from international investors, and particularly investors who are looking to not only make a return, but make a difference. Impact investing is a growing area of economic inflows. And those inflows are looking for markets to invest in. And Bangladesh is poised to draw those investments. So I think that that's another area that we can look to in the future as an area of growth.
As we are talking about labor issues, let's look at it in a broader perspective. Significant percentage of this RMG labor force is women. And so what is US doing to help Bangladesh to improve the lives of women and girls in Bangladesh?
Yeah, well, let me just say that Bangladesh has been actually quite a leader in women's empowerment, and you know, the choices that Bangladeshi policymakers have made and the choices that Bangladeshi citizens have made to really invest in women and girls, to invest in opportunities for education and advancement, to invest in opportunities for health care. That has been transformational. You know, our former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, she used to say that any country that does not fully optimize 50% of its workforce is simply not going to achieve the economic gains that it needs to sustain its population. And one of the things that Bangladesh can be really proud of is the investments that it has been making in its women and its girls. And the United States is proud to be able to support those investments and work with Bangladesh through a vast array of programs on economic and development issues that really do target and focus on advancing women in the full-fledged partnership in society and economy.
Assistant Secretary, we have already talked about the growing Bangladesh's growing economy, the youth of Bangladesh,
Yes.
the civil society, the labor issues, but a lot of this actually is affected by our politics and the political process, and so it is very important to have a stable political climate to have sustainable economic growth. So how does the United States view the state of Bangladesh's governance and political process?
Well, first of all, I couldn't have said it any better than you just said it right now, Sabir, that for Bangladesh to be able to continue on its path of economic development, it needs stability, predictability, it needs a political process that reflects the hopes and the aspirations of the Bangladeshi people. And the United States has been very clear that our interest here, the interest of the United States, is to support the aspirations of the Bangladeshi people for free, fair, and credible elections that allow for a stable transition in the political process, and for the prosperity that we have seen increasing over the past decade to be able to continue and grow.
I have a question about the ready-made garments product actually. Does the United States have any plan to give free access of, tax-free access of Bangladeshi ready-made garments products to its market in the near future?
You know, that's a very good question, and I know that's a very important question for many Bangladeshis. What I would say to you is that I think that as we look to improve the labor environment in Bangladesh, that Bangladesh will be able to make a more compelling case for granting greater market access for its ready-made garment industry. And that's what I'm focused on, is what can we do together in the coming months to really address and improve that labor environment, so that when Bangladesh makes the case for expanding access for its ready-made garment industry, that its products are seen as a preferred brand, that its processes are seen as being good and safe and equitable. And that's where I think we can make a difference and make a more compelling case.
সময় হলো আরো একটা বিরতির, আমাদের সাথেই থাকুন, ফিরবো কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই। আড্ডা দিচ্ছি অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট সেক্রেটারি নিশা বিসওয়ালের সাথে, আর আমাদের আজকের আড্ডার টপিক পলিসি প্রায়োরিটিস ইন বাংলাদেশ অ্যান্ড দ্য রিজিয়ন।
Basically, I want to ask that the issue of extremism and terrorism is perhaps the factor for U.S. In charting the country's foreign policy. So, what is U.S. attitude toward extremism and terrorism in South Asia, including Bangladesh?
Well, I will say that we have had a very strong partnership here in Bangladesh on countering violent extremism. And we have had a very strong partnership on counterterrorism. And I know we just signed in the past week a memorandum of understanding between our two countries on counterterrorism. And that is an area that we fully expect to continue to work together and strengthen that partnership. You know, I think it's an important time across the region to be expanding the space for moderate Muslim communities and moderate and religious tolerance, ethnic tolerance and religious tolerance. And I think that that is a space that Bangladesh can provide some lessons learned for the entire region. The work that we have done here together is work that the rest of the region can really learn from and draw upon.
Assistant Secretary, I would like to ask you that what can we expect down the road for future U.S.-Bangladesh relationships, but before that I would like to hear from the youth of Bangladesh that what do they expect from the U.S.-Bangladesh relationship in the future?
That's a great question. Thank you. Yes, we would love to know what are your expectations.
Well, we think that the U.S.-Bangladesh relations will go to a stage from where Bangladesh will be able to play a greater global role in international community with having partnership with the United States, and the United States in return will be sensitive towards the Bangladesh's needs in regional and global level, so that the both country can be a good example of bilateral cooperation, in fact, between a big power and a small power.
It is really important for both countries to have a long-term strategic partnership for
greater regional stability and to work in areas like Afghanistan. For example, Bangladesh can contribute a lot in post-2014 scenario. Bangladesh can send peacekeeping troops, NGOs. So here I think USA should try to initiate some confidence-building measures so that Bangladeshi people support initiatives taken by Bangladesh government for working in sensitive areas like Afghanistan. So it is really important to address this issue.
Thank you. Those are some very good areas of continued collaboration and cooperation, and I think they track very closely with the way the United States sees the relationship and the opportunity, which is that this partnership is not only about how we can work together to improve the lives and the opportunities for Bangladeshis, but how the United States and Bangladesh can work together to make a difference globally. And Bangladesh has already been a global player in so many different ways. Whether it's because of innovations like oral rehydration therapy, which came out of Bangladesh, or the Grameen Bank and microfinance, BRAC, and these are global institutions at this point. They're doing work around the world. Social businesses and social investment funds, concepts that have had their origins in Bangladesh are changing lives around the globe. So the U.S. partnership with Bangladesh, yes, it's fundamentally about improving and advancing prosperity in Bangladesh, but it's also a global partnership. And we see that as an area of growing expansion and collaboration as we move to the future.
Nearly 75% people of our country express a positive view about USA. It's very rare for a Muslim country like Bangladesh to express such a high positive view about Bangladesh. So what I expect is that Bangladesh, also another thing is that Bangladesh has a strong liberal idea. I can still remember when there was a communal riot was going on in India and Gujarat, and during that particular time we had two separate religious festivals. One is Durga Puja and one is Eid, and two religious separate festivals occurred very peacefully. Nothing unexpected happened there. So I think by collaborating with USA, and by expressing these liberal views, and as we all know, USA also have a very strong liberal view, I think we can express our message to the whole region about the liberal ideas, liberal economy, and how to enlarge peace throughout the region.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, and I think you said it so well. I think that Bangladesh has been an example of religious tolerance, ethnic tolerance, an inclusive society, and we would like to see that continue, and we would like to see that serve as an example of best practices that can be expanded across the region.
Assistant Secretary, we are at the end of our show. Thank you very much for your comments and generous words for our youth in Bangladesh. Any final thoughts and your message to young people in Bangladesh?
Well, simply I would say that I am very bullish on Bangladesh. I am very optimistic about where Bangladesh can go. And the reason for my optimism is the youth of Bangladesh. It's the energy, the entrepreneurship, the innovation that I see in young people across this country. And I think that the future is yours to own. And the United States is there to partner with you, and we look forward to watching you succeed. So thank you again for having me on this program, and it's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine. Panelists, thank you very much for your participation. দর্শক, আজকের মতো আড্ডা এখানেই শেষ করব। পরের মাসে আমরা আবার আসবো নতুন কোনো অতিথির সাথে আড্ডা দিতে। সবাই ভালো থাকুন আর দেশের সাথেই থাকুন।